Hi, and welcome to today's program of highlights from the 21st Biennial Convention of the American Postal Workers Union. I'm Celeste Crenshaw. Today is T-shirt Day at the convention. Are you wearing yours? The convention got underway Monday with delegates in attendance from all 50 states, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. Under the theme, One Union, Indivisible, members convened with an honor guard presenting the colors and delegates reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. A member from each region joined to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow, well done. Then it was on to the business of the convention, including spirited addresses by several elected officials. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, bashed the House Republican leaders for trying to destroy the Postal Service. She said it's critical for members to send a message at the polls in November.
Everyone here today knows that there are serious financial problems facing the U.S. Postal Service. That's not a secret. But every single one of these problems can be solved. We can address them by coming together and providing real solutions to adapt to the changing needs of the American public. Can't we? Yes. Can't we? But they will not be solved by my Republican colleagues trying to send a wrecking ball right through the entire agency. Yet that's exactly what the bill introduced by Darrell Issa had a feeling you would do that. My Republican colleague in the House, that's exactly what his plans would threaten to do. If you haven't had the chance to take a closer look at the Issa bill, let me save you some time. It is an unconscionable attempt by congressional Republicans not to save our nation's postal service, but to dismantle it. To dismantle it altogether. And that is unacceptable. And we are not going to stand for it, are we, brothers and sisters? From now until November 6th, we need each and every one of you out there fighting tooth and nail to send President Barack Obama back to the White House for a second term. Thank you. We need you to keep making those calls, keep going door to door, talking to voters, and please keep helping out in any way they can. We need to make sure that we spend the next 77 days living, sleeping, and breathing this campaign so that we can make sure that we have a fighter in the White House for America's working families, a fighter to make sure that we have a voice in the White House who understands that we need to strike a balance in this country, that we need to fight for the middle class, that we need to create jobs and get this economy turned around. That person is Barack Obama. I am so thankful for your support. On to victory on November 6th. Thank you very much. We know America's postal workers will never quit, and we will never quit on you. Thank you so much.
Other U.S. representatives voiced their support for the Postal Service and postal workers and also urged delegates to get active in the weeks before the November election. Representative Danny Davis spoke to delegates on Sunday evening.
I was thinking earlier that today is Sunday, and given my flight schedule, I had to miss church. But I've had church on my mind all day, Denise Wilson, even if I didn't go. And I was thinking that if I was a preacher and had to read a scripture, I would probably read that one that says, "Fret not thyself of evildoers," because I think there are some evildoers in our country, and I think there are people trying to do some evil things. Because the second part of that scripture says, "For they shall be cut down like the trees and wither like the grass." And with the kind of droughts we've been having in many places throughout America, I think we're going to have to not only cut them down, but we're going to have to make sure that they do some withering. Now, if I had to take a text, I would tell you that the drums are rumbling, and that we must heed the rumble of the not too distant drum. America, my country, 'tis of thee. Our country, the most notable country on the face of the earth. America the beautiful. America the great technological nation. America the leader of the free world. Our America is at a serious crossroads. And between now and November, we have some great decisions that we have to make.
Representative Judy Chu is working hard to stop two proposed postal consolidations in her district, which includes Pasadena, California.
You know, when the stakes are this high, it's inappropriate for the Postal Service to force such devastating cuts before Congress could make a more reasonable solution possible. But unfortunately, they went with their plans anyway. Some postal workers were only given days to make life-changing career decisions, even though they worked for the post office for decades. And that's not right. Postal workers deserve better than this. But instead of working to save the postal workers and their service, some anti-worker politicians are attacking the Postal Service and are using you as scapegoats. Just recently, House Republicans forced the Postal Service to default for the first time in its history by refusing to bring a postal reform bill to the floor for a vote. I mean, few institutions affect every person's life in every way like the Postal Service, yet Republicans are apparently just fine with letting the Postal Service wither on the vine. We can't let them get away with this. We can't let the House Republicans continue to stonewall reform and endanger such a crucial engine for our economy. This has to stop, and Congress has to act now.
In his State of the Union address, President Cliff Guffey said members are energized by our campaign to save the Postal Service and ready to work hard for a win in November.
We are going to have to win this politically. We can't grieve our way out of the situation we're in right now. We've got to work together. You've done that. You stepped up. When we called upon you, you stepped up. You stopped so much stuff. If I told you 3 years ago that we were going to stop the Republican bill 2309 in a Republican-dominated House with Republican leadership, not only Issa, but also Boehner, leader of the House. We wouldn't have believed it. You stopped it. The union stopped it. You did it. We did it. Changing the attitude in the Senate. They were only talking about 6 days. We sicked you on them. You went out there and you did it. They came back from their recess and they changed their bill to include, and all they talked about after they came back was service standards. You did that. The union did that. We have blocked. 3 years ago, the Postal Service said we are going to look at and evaluate 8,000 stations and branches to close. 8,000. You remember that. If I told you at that time, don't worry, they're going to close 10,000, get rid of 10,000 postmasters instead of changing our offices into CPUs, what would you have said? They didn't do it. They didn't do it because of you, your activities, the union, okay? If we don't go out and work together hard in November in every single race, I think everyone in here knows that, we're going to be standing by Wisconsin. God, we stood by them in their fight. But I want you to know this, brothers and sisters, if you don't have any doubts in your mind, you better not. If we lose these elections, if we do not prevail, and if there's a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican president, if that happens, just like in Wisconsin, it wasn't a matter of years after they took over all 3 houses. It was a matter of days before they wrote the law and took away the rights of the workers in that state. And you can bet your bottom dollar they'll be doing the same thing at the federal level. And I don't want to be standing next to those public workers in Wisconsin and saying, we got the same problems of you. I want us to stop this nonsense of attacking public workers, and we can do it if we stand together and if you stay mobilized like you've been mobilized for the last year and a half, and you work with us and we work with you. We will go after these guys who've been persecuting us, and we're going to stop it.
APWU and Obama, yeah!
Many APWU retirees are already working hard to turn out the vote for President Obama and other candidates who support working people. Participants in the retiree conference discussed the threat to safety net programs like Social Security and Medicare.
We're concerned about what's happening in Congress, the threats to our so-called entitlements, which we consider to be earned entitlements of Social Security, Medicare, and our own federal employee health benefits, as well as our civil service and federal employee retirement system retirement benefits.
Republican Vice President candidate Paul Ryan is very scary to think that his ideas could become law if he's elected. People don't realize how much it's going to impact their own lives and their family lives for the future, and really hurt Americans right now that are living, many that are living solely on Social Security. His whole voucher system, his whole take away Medicare, and then give more to the wealthiest people in this country. It's absurd. It's why we've paid into it all this time, and how we should suffer the way that they're going to make us suffer. And then what's going to happen? Who's going to take care of all these Americans that aren't going to be able to afford to continue living and pay for their health costs?
Several weeks ago, I was invited to testify before Senator Sanders' super committee over on Capitol Hill. And I was asked what was my life experience with Medicare and Social Security, and it's just that I would be dead, not here, if it hadn't been for the good health care that I had and Social Security and civil service. I'm a recipient of both Social Security and Medicare. as well as being a civil servant when I was with the Postal Service. So I'm fortunate. I have good benefits, but there are others that don't have those benefits, and to take them away from them, or to take them away from me, signs a death warrant for a lot of people.
Many of our postal workers didn't have Social Security because they didn't work under Social Security earned benefits. But a lot of us did because in the early years, like I hired in the Postal Service in 1959, and in those years, you better work a part-time job to make ends meet.
Currently, I am a recipient of Social Security benefits, although I am affected by the windfall elimination. I have had my Social Security benefits like many other federal employees, CSRS employees, and some state employees that have paid into benefits and are not getting the full benefit.
I do get a small amount of Social Security, which, by the way, is reduced by a 40% factor called the windfall elimination provision, thanks to Congress, so that my benefit, Social Security benefits, are very small, but it does pay for my Medicare premiums.
And now I find they're out there trying to divide the senior generation against the younger generation by telling them it won't be there for them. It'll only not be there for them if they choose not for it to be there.
Americans are very complacent, and we allow other people or count on other people to do what we should be doing. If this is the message going across the whole country, it's wake up America. It's know what's going on. Know how your future is going to be seriously impacted. Retirees have to, of all times, speak louder, shout louder. Gray Panthers, everybody, every organization, every diversified group needs to come out and pass the word. You have to pass the word to your family, to your youngsters, to know it's not about my benefits, it's about everybody's benefits, especially those in the future who will not have the entitlements that are existing today.
Representatives of postal unions from around the world are attending the convention. Billy Hayes, a union leader from Great Britain and president of Uni Post and Logistics, spoke on behalf of the international guests.
The USA is important, one, because 40% of the world's mail is done here. It's almost half of all the mail in the world. Think about that for a minute. Almost half of all the mail posted in the world is in this great country. But when something happens in the USA, the rest of the world notices. 5 million postal workers around the world are standing in solidarity with you and your sister union in your fight to save the Postal Service. Last year, UPS, United States Postal Service, done $65 billion of business. An incredible sum, bigger than many countries. So we stand shoulder to shoulder. And when we look at some of the proposals that you're being forced to fight, dropping Saturday delivery, closing of tens of thousands of post offices and hundreds of thousands of processing facilities, laying off postal workers, and pre-funding, which was created by Congress, which needs to be fixed by Congress. The fact is that leading the bill in Congress does nothing to address the pre-funding issue that allows Congress to tear up your contracts, lay off thousands of workers, appoint a board to oversee the dismantling of the Postal Service. Our Uni Global stands with you in your campaign to fight these proposals. We know you didn't create the problem, and we know that you are fighting hard to fix it.
We close this show with the words of Tom Sullivan, the APWU member who recently lost his son Alex in the mass shootings at a movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. He addressed the convention and thanked everyone for their support.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. When I was asked to come here and speak, it was my honor because during all of this, who I could count on and who responded first, to my support, my family's support, we're my union brothers and sisters across the country, from Florida to the great Pacific Northwest. We've gotten cards, letters, prayers, thoughts, support, and from the Sullivan family. I just cannot, if I don't get a chance to come over and shake and hug each one of you before I leave this afternoon, please know that that was my intent. And I'm working through the cards and letters that you have all sent to my family. And I'm so proud of my son Alex, and he was such a joy. And if you get a chance to read any of the articles or hear any of the stories, add 10 times to that, because that's who he was. So thanks again for allowing me to come here, and thank you again from the Sullivan family for all of your kind words and thoughts and prayers. Have a successful convention. Stay strong. Thank you.